And hello, everyone. Welcome to the season finale of the BB Brains as we discuss about the season finale of tonight's Big Brother. Was it an upset? Was it already expected? Quite honestly, I was kind of blown away. I was a little apprehensive at first, but congratulations, Ashley, for winning Big Brother 27. I am ecstatic for her. I think we had honestly a great final three with Vince, Morgan, and Ashley. I think all three of them had a major impact on the season. All three of them did everything that they needed to get to the end. And with how everything played out tonight, it was just a matter of who's going to trip first in their competitions to essentially lead them astray. And the fact that not only do we have a fumble from Vince, but we had a major fumble from Morgan as well. That Ashley basically just sniped on both of their ends to get her W tonight. But how did we get here? What led to all this? How can we piece together how the jury thought was the better decision? Granted, I think we kind of know, but we'll go over that along with briefly going over the clip show episode since we didn't really discuss about that last week. So let's just jump right in to the clip show episode, just so we can get like a little bit of information here leading up to tonight's finale. We got a little information on Ava's house meeting where she basically calls out Vinny. We saw a little bit of that on the finale, not on the finale night, but on Ava's eviction night. But we didn't really get much else of that. However, when it came to the actual eviction, it's not the actual clip show itself, we got a lot more information. And man, Ava really went out swinging. She basically just did everything she could to throw Vince under the bus. And I feel like with that information, along with all the seeds that Ashley was playing on the live feeds this week to Morgan, I think ultimately might have swayed Morgan to wanting to take out Vince tonight, which I think ultimately would have led to a Morgan win. Because I think if she took out Vince, that would have been the game winning move for her. And then it was the same with Ashley having that be her game winning move. So turned out pretty good on both ends there for how that turned out. But yeah, after that, we basically get to the clip show portion. And we got like segments involving Keanu arguing with Ashley on how he felt that he was the closest person to Rachel and all that stuff, which we all know was kind of BS there, especially with Rachel's answer tonight. We also got the Rachel and Keanu segment, go as well as just segments about Rachel, her former pet potato that Will just like said, "R.I.P. We're praying for your potato." As well as the jury segment following about the double eviction, as well as Rachel and Keanu reuniting. Basically, Rachel just rubbing in his face like, "Hey, you should have listened." And we got a little bit of like the clumsy Morgan segment. Ashley being ditzy and playing off like the dumb girl stuff, and her mentioning that Katy Perry landed on the moon, which I'm just like, oh, Ashley, Ashley. And then like the staple DI request segments, uh, everyone crying in the diary room segments, and then having the BB legends that cameo throughout the season, and Ava with her weird Ben tastes. I mean, everyone's got their thing. I guess hers is Robin Williams. And then they cheers off to the season, going to part one of the final HOH. That's all we got for the clip show. Nothing really much of note. It's just like the real meat and potatoes of it, or well, maybe meat. Let's not say potato. R.I.P. to that poor little mouse. Was essentially Ava's house meeting that I think was the starting point to really push Morgan in another direction on if she wanted to really keep Vince, and Ashley just like jabbing that in to her for the rest of the week that ultimately would have led her to take out Vince tonight. Yeah. But let's get into this finale. We basically go into the part one HOH, and oh my god, like I believe they did this competition in 20, I want to say. And yeah, it was kind of like a given that Morgan or Vince was going to win. We knew Ashley wasn't the most like physically capable to win this type of competition. She was not good at most of the competitions this year, but as Ashley proved tonight, you really only need to win one veto and a final HOH to prove yourself as a winner. Because again, social game is key. But yeah, we basically saw Ashley fell first and Vince fell after. Basically, like they were just so dizzy, they were disoriented, and Morgan was just like a rock. So was kind of expecting that. But following after that, we got the jury roundtable, where we got Rachel wanting a well-rounded winner and Lauren wanting accountability for her votes, which honestly came into play tonight because with Vince, he definitely wasn't owning up to his stuff, and it pretty much I think lost him Lauren's vote. But again, the way that everyone was acting tonight, it kind of looked like Vince was a dead man walking no matter what. Um, Following on that, we got jury discussing on Morgan how they felt that she was great at comps, paranoid a lot of the times, and hard to tell if she was playing for herself or for Vince. Quite honestly, I think you would have known right out the gates, come at the very least with the Lauren nomination on Vince's HOH, that you could tell Morgan was playing for more for herself and manipulating Vince, whereas Vince was very much just like trying to appease Morgan most of the time. And yeah, you could say in the beginning parts of the game that Morgan was trying to basically play more for Vince and Zach, but I think when the whole White Locust twist happened, as well as Lauren being HOH right after that, I think that woke Morgan up some and basically had to realize I have to play more for my game, and realize that Vince was very close to Lauren. And I think that's what really pushed her over the edge to really get in gear and really dig her nails into that Judges Alliance to hold it down, because she needed that to stay intact for her to go far in the game, which I think was the right call. And again, we saw how she essentially just steamrolled after that. I think that was the right move for her. But yeah, following after that, they were talking about Vince and how they think he played a good game, how he lied too much, it was crying all the time, and that Rachel was pushing to not be bitter with him on that. And again, I think when it comes to these jury segments on the show, I always like to take them with the like just a grain of salt, honestly, because it's very evident that tonight, like we got a whole different segment for TV regarding the jury, just them wanting to say nice things about all three of the potential winners here, and then come tonight, all of them just ripping into Vince. Like you could just tell, like they were just like really spoon feeding this and just basically stating that, yeah, Vince is not going to have a shot in hell of winning this whole thing, but we at least want to at least give him his flowers in that regard, because obviously you don't want like a whole jury segment about them just trashing Vince. Granted, I would have liked that, but some people might not. But following after that, we got Ashley and how they were talking about her and how they say that she's a strong social player, that the jury knows she's a lawyer. I was not expecting that. I guess Will let that slip or Rachel let that slip, but I don't know. I thought that was going to have a more impactful moment with that, with her speech tonight. But I'll take that with them still knowing and them still being impressed with how she played. And they were also knowing how adaptable she was to the game. And I think Ashley's like conversation with from the jury definitely summed her up the best. Like it showed her as a social player. It showed her that she was adaptable. That was her strongest feats in the game, and it definitely helped get her all the way to the podium tonight. I just still find it so funny though that the girl who literally ran back to the diary room to reconsider her vote won the season. It's hilarious, honestly. This is like perfect summation of Big Brother. Like you just never know who could win the season. You think someone is the front runner, and then out of nowhere, someone was the front runner the whole time, and then you just didn't know. And quite honestly, Ashley's journey was such a fun one to watch. I will say that much. And I think her as a winner, I don't know if she's going to be a top winner in any way, shape, or form, but I feel like there's definitely going to be conversations on her being at least upper in terms of winners for that social game. It's just a matter of how they want to portray that because again, the edit didn't give her flowers when needed, but I still think she had a strong social game. She did what she needed to get to the end, and she did everything in her power to really gain the trust of her allies and push that all the way, especially with the judges. And I think that was her strongest feats, which I think she definitely nailed tonight when trying to hype those up. So after that jury segment, also, actually, let's talk a little about Cody as the host for the jury roundtable because it is now announced that the jury roundtable is going to have different people hosting it every year. And to me, I don't feel like Cody had any impact. I feel like he was just there. Like Cody, to me, I don't really care for him much as a player. I don't really feel like he's just like entertaining in any way. I don't think he has much philosophical views to give because he was never on the jury. But on top of that, his social game was never his strong suit. He was just a comp beast. And again, he threw his game away for Derek in 16. And when watching the roundtable tonight and just seeing how he was interacting with it, it just very much felt like I don't know. It's like he just like was just wallpaper. And again, I just don't think he was the right fit for that role. When looking at the other roundtable hosts, like Dr. Will, I felt had a good understanding. Taylor had a good understanding. I just don't think the plot was there with Cody. And I don't know if it was there for a reason to push more for the comp edge or something. I don't know, but I'm glad they're just rotating it out to different people because quite honestly, I don't know. I just don't think he was the right fit, and I'm glad that he's not a mainstay because he was just wallpaper. But yeah, so following after that jury segment, we get part two of the final HOH where we get Frankie Grande hosting it. And on top of that, we get a little look see into the mastermind. And it's just like, this is the competition that's going to reveal the identity. And oh boy, this was a competition. Not only was this like the competition that was used in Reindeer games, I feel like this was the I feel like we had some repeats of the reindeer games with like the white locust and now that competition. Granted, I mean I like those on reindeer games, but again, better for reindeer games than for actual Big Brother. But because like this competition was 100% more catered to the physical player, and I feel like everyone, including myself, thought this was going to be a shoe in for Vince. But the fact of the matter is that both him and Ashley did not properly read those instructions. It's just like, wow. And seeing Vince crash out like that was just even more embarrassing. And it would have been more embarrassing had he won tonight. Because I'm just like, that's a bit your winner, if that were the case. Ugh. But yeah, it was. Whoo. But yeah, so basically, it was like competition to knock down like the blocks, build the blocks up, and then get an answer out of said blocks. And with that, Vince was like the first one to get everything set up, and he was trying to put in the days of when they were eliminated rather than their placements. And Ashley was doing the same, but little along the way, Morgan realized, oh, this is placements, not the dates. And Frankie knew that with her, which was even funnier to watch in their reaction. But then Ashley looked back at the envelope, saw that it was the placements and not the dates, and essentially was like, oh, I have to do this and not have Vince see. And essentially, she got everything set up, got her podium set up, and got the win. Where Vince then has even further meltdown and is crying behind his podium or his puzzle. We're just giving flashbacks to Big Brother 13, where Rachel lost the competition and Brendan was consoling her as she was crying in a bush. And we see history repeating itself tonight with Morgan doing the same with Vince. And it's just like, how poetic with a scene like this, and it's like Rachel was on the cast. But yeah, it was kind of wild watching that play out, and apparently it was even more of a bigger crash out that even Frankie had to console him, which we didn't see. So it's like obviously some more stuff was going down that, ooh, did not look pretty. um, but yeah, so after that, we essentially got the reveal of the mastermind, and it was not the one and only Doctor Will, which I'm like, really, Big Brother? The most obvious person was the mastermind. Like you couldn't spring for anyone else. And we saw him getting like carted away by the police and was just shouting out at Frankie that you'll never be a social media mogul. And I'm like, okay, that's at least funny. At least I'll give it that. Um, but after that, uh, we then go to the crashing out of Vinny. Following after that, just Morgan consoling him as Ashley is dancing her way that she won part two, and he is just like, "Oh, I, I threw it all away, Morgan. I'm so pathetic. I'm so pathetic. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve it. I did everything I could, and yet I screwed up." And that was basically the feeds for like that whole night, which was it's rough. I mean, I'm happy with how this season ended, but I again, if I see events on my screen again, it better be for a long time because again, like I said, this season he is definitely giving Nicole Franzel and Paul Abraham vibes. I believe it was Paul Abraham or whatever. Paul from 18 and 19, just like combined together into one, never owning up to their moves and crying and whining all the time. I just see it like that. And same with Paul's like cursed uh like Hawaiian t-shirt. I feel like Vince has a cursed beanie. That's how I'm seeing it that. But at least I'm glad we got a little bit of that because again, he was crashing out hard after that competition. But yeah, after that, we come back from commercial and we go into part three of the final HOH competition, where we have Morgan and Ashley going through evidence of like interrogations of sorts of the jury, and they have to figure out what they say is false. And just like how Vince fumbled the bag badly in that competition, Morgan did just the same. She did not get the correct answers. She was all over the place. She was even panicking and like second guessing herself. And essentially, Ashley just like got every question right, and they didn't even need to go far to use all of them. And Ashley wins the final HOH. And again, she starts off the season winning the first veto and wins the final HOH to cap off the season. And honestly, that's kind of perfect. It all works out in that regard. I think it was a perfect poetic way for Ashley to end Morgan's game and essentially just come out on top. So yeah, we get then Ashley being told to like who do you want to vote for, with Morgan and Vince giving their final pleas. Ashley starts tearing up and basically tells Morgan, "I have to evict you." So Morgan's evicted. She's the final member of the jury. Ashley and Vince are the final two of the season. And again, it's so poetic that the person that wanted to nominate Ashley, who's been talking down on her the whole season, who's been wanting to get her out for the longest time, loses to the person he's been talking down the entire game in a 6-1 vote. It is so poetic, honestly. And he just did not realize he was working with someone that has, in quotations of Abby Maria, social, just social. And we get a little bit of like some banter between Morgan and Julie. It was just nothing we're not surprised by. Morgan did mention though that she would have cut Vince and would have taken Ashley to the final two, which shows more again of Ashley's social game, and kudos to her on that because it was very much assured that Morgan was going to take Vince to the end. But the fact that Ashley kept on playing these seeds about Vince, kept on really playing it calm about everything, basically came out with the scenario where she was going to go to the end no matter what. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it. I think Morgan would have won in that scenario, but it was still pretty impressive that Ashley had those ins to essentially have herself the final two no matter what. So we basically then cut back to the show. Uh, we have the jury on the side, and we have Julie just telling them who they want to see, and a lot of them are saying Vince. And she brings out Morgan, Rachel screaming. Everyone's just like, "Oh my god, what happened?" And Julie says Ashley wins the final HOH. Everyone's just like, "Oh my god." Ava looking like a largemouth bass with her mouth just agape like that. I think she was just trying to clip farm though. That's what she was been trying to do for the past few weeks. And also just hilarious that she was like trying to play for America's favorite player and in the top three and she's not even in it. That's also just as karmic. And I do love the fact that our AFPs, like final three, were Keanu, Rachel, and Will. I felt that was very fitting, honestly. Um, but yeah, so after that, we get our jury questions. And with the jury questions, we got Rachel asking Ashley what her best moves were. And it was essentially based her mentioning how she just navigated her social game throughout the entire game and how the creation of the judges was able to help her get to the end, which was, probably the best way to make that work. Keanu then asked Vince about his emotions and how he was like, work with them, were they legit or not? Again, he was not owning up to his answers or anything like that. He felt like he was never tricked the entire game. He felt like his emotions were in check for the most part when it came to the game. It's even funny when you think about it, that Kelly of all people was laughing at some of his answers, and it's like, oh no. Vince's game is cooked. I mean, like the moment Vince started answering the questions and the jury's reactions, I was just like, I knew right then and there, like, yeah, Ashley's taking this. So after Keanu's question, Will then asked Ashley what she contributed to the game and what she contributed to the judges, where she again, mentioned about her social game, went over all those details and everything. And then we got Lauren then asking Vince what were his three best moves, which he was just all over the place with, like bringing up stuff from like week one to like various points of the game. And it's just like he was just so, I don't know, like just ecstatic on like what he was saying that he was just did not know where to begin, where to end, where to start, just on anything. And he was just so all over the place. After Lauren, Ava then asked Ashley why she should win over Vince, which she just destroys Vince in that regard, and how she was loyal, she was honest, she did what she needed to, she had her stronger social game, she didn't have to lie constantly, which I think was the right move to say, just to really emphasize on that. And then we got Morgan asking Vince what his strongest part of his game to get to the final two was, which again, he was like trying to really push his social aspect, his strategic aspect, which again, him not fully owning up to his stuff and just like Morgan's like really trying to push for Vince to like really help his game in some way, but it just was not working. But following after that, we get our final statements from both Ashley and Vince. And Ashley essentially goes all Elle Woods and it's like, I'm a lawyer. I'm like Elle Woods from that movie Legally Blonde. I played ditzy, but I'm smart as hell. And I played my social game to the strongest point it could to get me to this end game. And then Vince like talks about just comping out and how he nommed everybody and how he basically did damage control when he did. Which again, I think both speeches were good. I feel like Vince needed his answers to be done in that same way because then maybe there could have been something then at that point. But the fact that he owned up to himself in his final speech but didn't own up to his answers, I think really sealed his fate. So after that, we get to the votes. Rachel basically says she's voting for someone who is strategic, competitive, and social. I kind of figured that was going to go to Ashley. Will said, my girl. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, 100% that's going to Ashley. Kelly was voting for the best social game, which again, figured that's going to go to Ashley. Lauren just, I don't know what she was doing. She was just like, I don't know what that is. Love you all. And I'm like, okay, Lauren, you did everything you were pretty much going to go for it in yourself this season. Like you were really just like you like she said she want like in that jury roundtable or not roundtable in the jury segment during the clip show she was told that Rachel that she was like a scared puppy dog and it's like I am not going to be a scared puppy dog I'm going to be a stronger dog and then she did not have that dog in her tonight she had that tail between her legs that's for damn sure it's like way to end that on your Big Brother career, Lauren, because I doubt you're ever going to get us back. But then we get Keanu coming up, and he states that he's going to vote for who he thinks what a champion should be for Big Brother. Which again, I definitely felt like, yep, that's going to be for Ashley. And then Ava votes. She says she's going to vote for the person who believes in themselves and in all of us, which that is 100% a dig at Vince and definitely for Ashley. And then Morgan says that I'm voting for a person who played the best game, which we all kind of figured she was going to vote for Vince anyways. So voting is done. The pre-jury is back, and we have a few segments regarding that. We got basically the Mean Girls Regina George moment, where it's just like raise your hand if you've been victimized by Regina George, but instead it's raise your hand if you had a final two with Vince. And we got like a good chunk of people raising their hands, and Vince is just like, why are you doing this? Why? And then we got more of a understanding with the Mickey and Jimmy drama that they have apologized on the matter. They talked it out, and they both agreed that essentially this was Morgan's doing that led to them doing that. Where Morgan kind of states that she stayed loyal, following through, yada 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 on that, but that at least she was like partially owning up to it that she did the move, but not fully. Following after that, we get some more Rachel and Keanu information where Rachel stated that the alliance was real and that it was essentially like number three on her alliance polls, where it was just like the judges and Ashley were number one and number two, with Rachel's alliance with Keanu probably being on third, which I think was the right way to put that. Because like I think Rachel wanted to work with Keanu to an extent, but I think with the amount of times he's backstabbed her, I think she was okay to cut him at a later point. And unfortunately, we got information on Riley and Catherine. And unfortunately, they are together still, which is unfortunate. If you're seeing the live feeds this season, seeing how Riley treated her full and through, it's just disrespectful, very much controlling, very much could be abusive. It's a little concerning, but again, everyone has told Catherine about Riley. Everyone has stated what they said, but she is still going to him. And unfortunately, it ultimately comes down to her decision. And even though we feel like what's best for her is not Riley, that's her choice at the end of the day. I hope nothing but the best for her. And I hope that whatever Riley does with her, it better not be anything that we saw in that Big Brother house. That's all I'm going to say on that. Because I just feel like she could do better. And I feel like there's so much drama surrounding Riley that would happen both inside and outside the house that, quite honestly, I feel like could have been addressed better, and I truly do hope that it will not end badly. But after that, we get the accomplice reveal of Amy working for the mastermind. And then in a twist of events, we get the real mastermind reveal where it was Jesse from Big Brother 10 and 11, as well as Frankie Grande and Eric Stein from Big Brother 8, all people that were ruined by twists in the game and their decision to do the same thing to everyone else. If we're going to get screwed over by twists, we're going to screw over everyone else with twists. And by screw everyone else over, they mean we're going to screw over Rachel with this twist. I was happy though, honestly. having Will as the mastermind felt very predictable, and I'm just like, ugh, this whole season hyping up someone that's going to be Will. It's like, come on. But for it to be Jesse, Mr. Spectacular, having to be Frankie Grande and Eric Stein, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with this. This is funny. It's cringy, yes, but this is our cringe. Big Brother has a special cringe, and I enjoy it. And quite honestly, seeing the three of them have basically be in their own turret, a lot of the traders, being the mastermind, I think was pretty interesting. And there was clues, I guess, scattered throughout the season. Granted, I guess none of us really caught on to it because I guess those clues were very cryptic. But on top of that, to have Eric Stein, literally from Big Brother 8, to have a Big Brother 8 mention after so long and to see it be him, it made me happy. It made me smile. I'm like, oh my God, of all the people. And it's just like, it gives me some satisfaction and maybe gives me a little hope that maybe there could be some more love for the older seasons in future endeavors with the show. But I'm only going to hope a little hope for that one. So then after that, we get our vote reveal, and the votes pretty much said it all when they were casting them. Rachel's Rachel's vote goes to Morgan's vote goes to wait a minute. I might have done this in a different order. Rachel's vote goes to Ashley. Will's vote goes to Ashley. Kelly's vote goes to Ashley. Lauren's vote goes to Ashley. Kiana's vote goes to Ashley. Ava's vote goes to Ashley. Morgan's vote goes to Vinny. Ashley wins the season by a 6-1 vote. And I'm just like, oh my God. I was expecting it to be a 6-1 vote or a 5-2 vote, depending on how Lauren was going to vote. But the fact that Morgan was Vince's only vote also felt very fitting that she was the only one that was going to be worth voting for him. Whereas everyone else who despised and hated him the entire season and or got screwed by him in the end were just like, screw you, Vince. We're voting for anyone else. But yeah, Ashley wins the season, and I'm ecstatic for Ashley. She had a good social game. Was she the best player? No. Do I think she had an A tier game? Also, no. I think her game is like a B plus. I think there's room for improvements. I think she could have done other stuff to help get her in better positions to win. But she was only nominated 3 times, like the entire season. So quite honestly, I gotta give her credit where credit's due there. She had good reads. She had a good sense of game. She was fun to watch, and she was just entertaining. So see her win, I think, was very fitting. And again, it was very karmic for her to be the one to win against Vince of all people. The fact that Vince was talking down on Ashley the entire season, saying that she doesn't deserve to be there, saying she doesn't deserve to win, and for all that to just blow up in his face after everything he did in the game, I felt that was just perfection and a perfect way to end the season. Do I think the season's going to be in my top 5? Probably not. Top 10? Maybe. I don't know. I need to mull this over. Think of what seasons I would prefer watching over it. But I think Big Brother 27 as a whole, I think was an entertaining season. I think we had a lot going for it, and I think there's a lot of good that came of it. That being said, we had a few other things to follow after this win. For one, Taylor won the Big Brother Fantasy, and I also won my fantasy. Ashley was my first pick. Ha! And I got Keanu too. So I also got America's favorite player. um, yeah, so Keanu wins America's favorite player. But in the top 3, we got Rachel and Will, which I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. Quite honestly, for the top 3 for America's favorite player, I think that was the most fitting. For it to be Rachel, Keanu, and Will, I think those 3 had the most entertaining and relatable value to be an America's favorite player. And do I think Keanu should have won America's favorite with the generous edit that he was given? No. But I kind of expected it because of how generous that edit was. And with how America's favorite player has been voted for the past few years, people are just wanting to vote for the comp beast underdog that's giving too generous of an edit because they did it for Cameron in 25, they did it for Tucker last year in 26, and they did it for Keanu this year for 27. I can only imagine it might be the same next year, but let's just hope that's not the case. But yeah, my journal is complete. This is Big Brother 27. This has been quite the summer. Um, I mean, I got some stuff to say, but let's answer one last survey that I put out this year. So I put out a form after Ava's eviction, and what I put down, and we'll go over it together. First question I asked, who is your favorite player this season? And majority of people voted for Rachel, which comes as no shock. I kind of expected it to be her this whole way through. And then, who is your least favorite player this season? Majority of people said Riley, which again, no shocker there. Riley was a creep. He was a jerk. And again, good luck with whatever you're going to be doing with him, Catherine, because you're going to need it. Following after that, I said rank the final three players from best to worst. And majority of people chose Morgan as number one, Ashley as number two, and Vince as number three. And quite honestly, I agree with that. I think had Morgan won Final HOH tonight and taken Ashley to the final two, I think Morgan still would have won. So Morgan taking out Vince would be her game winning move. Ashley taking out Morgan was hers. And I think no matter what, I don't think Vince would have won sitting next to either of those women. So I think that's the most appropriate for those three. Following after that, I then asked, who do you believe is going to be the last juror? And we had a three-way tie with everyone. Everyone had different ideas. No one knew who was going to vote for who. So it was just all over the place with the answers. And it essentially just came between a three-way tie with all the finalists. um, and my next question after that was, who do you believe is going to win the season? With majority of people saying Morgan, and by majority of people, I mean everyone in my survey all said Morgan. So sorry y'all got disappointed, but I mean, I thought in the last episode that Morgan was going to win the season. I thought she had the best win potential, but she really choked at that final three and ultimately got the boot. And then next, who do you believe is going to win America's favorite? And majority of people did say Keanu, with a few others mentioning Rachel. So they got that right, at least that we got of our top two. I mean, let's be real here. It was Keanu, Rachel, Will for the top three. That I think it was that order. So yeah, we all kind of figured it like it was going to be Keanu. I then asked, rate the episodes this season, and majority of people said with that answer that it was a 7. Honestly, I would agree. I think for the most part, this season was entertaining. Do I think some edits were a bit exaggerated over some others, like with Keanu and Riley? Yes. Do I think the White Locust twist put the season dead in its tracks for a bit? Also, yes. But I think all the way through, the season paid off. I think everything worked. And ultimately, I think we had the best ending to the season. And I think we had the best course of episodes that we could work with. So, despite those flaws, I think a 7 it was kind of the right way to describe it. And then I then asked, rate the live feeds this season, where majority actually went to a 9. And honestly, I'm kind of agreeing. The feeds this season were kind of giving. It was very much a lot of drama going on, a lot of just like nitpicks going on here and there, a lot of just like wild stuff going down that led to big events. Even with our final week, we were still having a lot of stuff go down between Morgan, Vince, and Ashley. And I feel as though we had a very entertaining cast. Now, granted, there were still some flops scattered throughout, but it was still like a lot going down that made a lot of conversations, a lot of interesting stuff to happen. And ultimately, I think we had some very fun live feeds all together this season. Um, and then my final question: have do you have any questions for the podcast? We have one question, and as much as I want to discuss about it, I feel as though it's not the most appropriate. But the way I'll word it is Fly on the Wall going to update their standards when it comes to how they portray men and women on the show? My personal take on this is there's going to be likely not much good that's going to change with how they're going to be portraying the show. Because quite honestly, with what we've seen with Ashley, what we've seen with even Taylor, I think some players are going to be portrayed in a way to push the edit to skew further in favor of men than it will in favor of women, as we saw with Keanu, like as we saw with Riley. I think some players are going to unfortunately be dealt a bad hand, regardless of how good their hand is when watching them play it out. It is unfortunate. It is something I felt that maybe I feel like production should look more into for future seasons. I just don't think it is going to happen. And as much as I would love for those changes to happen, I just know ultimately I don't think anything's going to be done with that. But on that note, this is the final episode of the BB Brains for this season. Now, what does that mean with me? What does it mean with me with this show and this network? I'll still probably pop up every now and then. The new season of Survivor is going right now, and there's likely a chance I might be asked to be on an episode or two, or stop on for other types of shows. As for this show right now, we don't know what's going to happen with it at this time, but I've had an amazing experience doing this show. This is my first time ever podcasting. This is my first time ever really sharing my opinions of Big Brother that's not on just a chat or a forum or anything like that. This is me actually having a platform to share my voice with the world. And I would like to thank Bruce so much for asking me to have this show and have this opportunity to share my voice with all of you. This has been an amazing season. This has been an amazing time for me doing all of this throughout the season. There were a lot of highs, there was a lot of lows, especially during the White Locust twist. That was a rough week for me to podcast with all those emotions going on. But I pushed through and I had so much fun doing this. If I'm able to do it another year, I'll gladly be able to do it. But again, we'll see what the future holds with me and the BB Brains. But my name is Kyle Dorr. Thank you for watching this show this entire summer. And can't wait for another wild season of Big Brother following into next year. Hey, who knows? Maybe you might see me in the cast. But I love you all. Stay safe out there. Be good people. And yeah, I'll see y'all for Big Brother 28, whether it's on here or on Twitter or wherever else. Have a good one, everyone.